So this ACI is a application centric. It's a Cisco product. Is a SDN solution which Cisco has bring. So this is the latest technology. So we start from this class by initially the theoretically all the classes majorly will be the theoretical. Once the theory will get over in 4 to 5 classes, then we'll start the lab session and we'll do the practical what all we have the possibilities. As this is the latest technology, so we do not have the much flexibility to make the topology ourselves and get it ready. Either we have the environment available in our office so that we can use over there, or we have the few other options as well. Out of those, one of the option which is very available, very interactive as well, which is a cloud. Cisco has given an option and create a topology for us on the cloud. And on the cloud, we have the two variant. One is available for all, that everybody can log in over there and then get and do the practice on that and understand how this ACI is actually work, what all components are there, how we can navigate those paths and all. Second option is that we have to schedule the lab, schedule the entire topology as per our need, and whatever the changes we are going to perform, all those changes are only visible and available to me, right? So that is called scheduled by ourselves. So I'll give you the complete detail what all both of these, right? And the third option is that we have the simulator available for this as well. But as I said, this is the latest technology. So simulator itself they had prepared for complete switches and the controller itself. So that simulator is bit heavy. So it's a approximate 30 or 32 GB of file, so that we can use it if we have the good hardware resource, right? So this heavy software required to run on the heavy hardware or the any of the server which we have with a good hardware configuration, at least the 32 GB RAM or the 8 core of processor. Just 1 second guys, just 1 second. Hello. Yeah. Yes sir. That the second option which we are discussing now is the simulator. So simulator is bit heavy and it's required a good hardware resources so that it can be run. So Cisco says it's required a 32 GB of memory and 8 core processor so that this ACI simulator will get it work. And this ACI simulator is available on Cisco site as well. You can go directly software.cisco.com and get it download, right? But it requires some of the configuration setting once you have done this or download it. So some setting you need to do it and then it is available for you locally. This ACI is having the virtual image as well. Instead of controller, you can get the virtual image. Okay, let me jump back on the simulator first. So this simulator is having some of the Nexus devices. It's a core switches or some of the distribution layer switches. We will discuss what all these switches are will be, what is the role for those. But as of now, we have the two layer of switches are connecting with this simulator with one set of ACI devices, APIC controller, which we called here. So it's a combination of all those, and that is called Cisco simulator. So everything is built up over there. So you don't need to worry and do any specific device connectivity over there. So basic test or basic functionality we can test with this help of simulator. Third option is that we have the ACI VM image also available. That is recently available for us. It's developed so that we can use it to connect it as a VMware workstation, as a virtual machine, and can be configured as a virtual image itself. We need to bind those interface ACI interface to the VMware virtual image. Yes, VNIC interface, which we called. Once we can bind it, then we are able to access it, and we might have the option to get connect to any other simulator as well. For example, GNS or EVNG or any other simulator if you want to correct, or any VM as well. So all these are the way of accessing your lab of ACI. So here, while discussing all of those, we'll use the Cloud Lab, which is available for all, and we can explore the functions, explore the things from there. Before to move ahead, I just want to know from your perspective, either you guys have an experience about ACI or it's fresh for you. One more important point is, in aspect of ACI, we all are working in networking domain quite long back. Maybe you have recently jumped into the networking domain. So the technology or the networking, what all we learned till now, is a completely different, right? So the ACI changed the way of thinking, changed the way of making configuration and understanding how this networking can be. So traditionally we are understanding, or we are aware that networking means we have the switch, we get the console and do the configuration whatever we want to do directly on the device, right? So if we have the 10 switches or 10 router, 20 switches, 50 switches kind of, then we have to jump on all the devices initially via the console access or via the management interface and perform the configuration. Do the similar configuration to all the devices if it is needed, access or distribution layer, right? And come back to the another devices parallelly. But here in ACI, it's not in the same way. It's changed. Everything is changed. So ACI, it says it's application centric infrastructure. As I written on the very first line, it's an application centric infrastructure. So this solution has been designed for application perspective. Because just remember, whenever any of the server or application need to be implemented in your environment, in your network, then the server team or the application team owner will come to you and said, the boss, this server we would like to connect to your environment, give me the port, allow these VLANs, and done. We are not asking anything about what all application it is, what is the role for this application, who all users or servers or other applications are going to access this particular application. As a network engineer, we are not bothering to know more about this information, right? Even we are not aware.
Hello,
Yes, please.
Sharif sir, Gaurav here.
Yeah,
Finally, that mute option has been fixed now.
great, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, before starting or learning the ACI solution, so do we need to have the knowledge about that VXLAN as well?
Not specifically, not needed. But having an idea,
Not
or
needed.
you might be aware about VXLAN. If it is not, then it's okay, because here we are not going to discuss in detail about VXLAN.
So, as far as I know that, like Cisco ACI is only supported with Cisco Nexus 9K devices,
Yes,
right? And it works on both mode, NXOS mode and ACI mode.
absolutely correct.
But don't have any idea now how does it work with the ACI mode, and if we enable that Cisco Nexus 9K in ACI mode, can we update it, or can we set up it with that NXOS mode as well, or it can be worked at a single time with a specific mode?
Yes, absolutely. We can do it. We can do it. We can use both mode, Nexus mode or
Okay.
ACI mode. Right?
All right.
We'll discuss in detail when we are going to understand this ACI solution, right? So where we discuss what all kind of switches we have and we can use in ACI and what could be the mode of this ACI switches,
Okay.
right? How we are going to get convert those switches in ACI mode or in Nexus mode, right? So everything will go and understand in this. But apart from those, if you guys have any idea, any query or any special things you need to understand, then please interrupt me and let me know so that I'll give more focus on this particular technology. Apart
Sure.
from those,
And sir, right
all the
now,
contents whatever is written on the website is we will go and complete cover all of those. So this is what it's an overview of ACI, and it says that ACI is what? ACI says this is application centric infrastructure. So what does it mean? That before to understand this ACI, we have the three-tier architecture, which says we have the one layer which is called a core layer, the core switch we have implemented over there in our topology. Second layer, in the mid layer, we have the distribution layer. And the bottom layer we have the access layer. So all of those connected in this same way, like this, they are connecting together, and our server are connecting on this access layer, or in some cases we have some of the server are connected on the distribution layer as well. So these connectivity from the network point of view, as I explained earlier, that this server knowledge, as a network engineer, we only know that what is this port and what is this VLAN I need to get allowed here. Maximum we can understand the server name as well. Except those information, we don't know what exactly this server it is. So from the server point of view, we are not sure what exactly all those, and we are not going to bother to know more about the server. But now this ACI says that network engineer must be aware about what this server is and what is this application running within this particular server. For example, this is a web server and having one of the website serving which is called www.google.com. So this network engineer must be aware that google.com server google.com is running on one of my server which is connecting to this particular interface. Might be this is 1/10. So this centralized application awareness engineer must be known. Server engineer, of course, he is installing this application to the server, so he might be aware that this application is residing on this server. What all communication this server is needed, this application is needed. If this application want to talk to this second server as well or no. So that the things we need to understand. We might be aware because what is the need for this application awareness? So application awareness as a network engineer is important because if we plan to perform any of the maintenance activity, if we are planning any of the maintenance activity and we shut down this distribution switch and we are not sure that this application is residing in one lag application, so this application is completely down. Or maybe in the reverse side, application engineer will come back to us and says, boss, my application is not working, can you please check? In that case, we need to involve multiple teams, right? Multiple teams we need to involve and get them identified first. What is this application? Where are those server located? What is the role? To whom they are going to talk? So this communication, this multiple team involvement and communication is spending lot of time, and the SLA, which we have the very important part in our organization, that has been about to breach, right? So this, if we have the application awareness knowledge that we know this application is residing on this particular server or this particular location, then we might start the next step instead of involving multiple teams over here. This is what the main objective of this application centric infrastructure. So this application centric infrastructure has been defined, but they have their own separate specification. As Gaurav said in the beginning, that ACI is only connect one of the Nexus devices, which is called Nexus 9K. So they have the prerequisite that if you want to build this Nexus environment, ACI environment, then you have to use Nexus 9K switches only. And all those switches is only in one of the certain mode, which is called ACI mode. Let's discuss in more detail in next upcoming class what all switches we have and how those modes can be changed or converted, right? But before to understand, we'll need to understand that this ACI, this application centric infrastructure, can be built up in a programmatical way as well. Programmatical way means that we have some of the programming language. And previously we might heard C, C++ kind of language. So these are programming language. So to manage this network infrastructure, we have some of the programming language, which is called XML, Python, and JSON. These three languages, we can write any of the program and get it pushed to your ACI infrastructure. And whatever the configuration we did, that has been pushed to your ACI infrastructure and get it implement immediately. So that program can be written as well. So this ACI infrastructure is supporting the programmatical technology as well. We have some of the tool in place which we also can use, right? One of the famous tool, which is Cisco, is Puppet or Chef. So we can use these tools to get it managed. And one of the important languages, we can write any of the program in Ansible and then make it success. Whatever task we need to do it, that we can do it in more advanced manner via this Ansible language. So any of the language you might be aware, all those languages are going to get support your program. You can write any of the program here, and those program is supported by your ACI infrastructure. Where's my pen? So ACI infrastructure is managed by one of the centralized controller, that is called APIC controller, which is application centric infrastructure controller. This is one of the controller who take care of your networking devices, your servers, your applications. Your entire networking operation will be taken care by this APIC controller, right? So we'll discuss in more detail about APIC as well, what exactly it is. But this is one of the controller from where we can get the information or we can push the configuration. And one important things I have written is HER, H-E-R, head and replication. This is what? This is a replication technology, which it is a standard technology, right? So it's not Cisco proprietary. So head and replication says how your bump traffic, broadcast, unknown unicast and multicast traffic is going to get flood in your environment. Does it need it to send the broadcast in your environment or no? If yes, then this technology will get it decided. This is inbuilt technologies. We don't need to do any special configuration for those. But yes, if we want to use, if we want to run the broadcast traffic, multicast traffic or unknown unicast traffic in our infrastructure, then we need to specifically go and allow this bump traffic, broadcast traffic or any kind of traffic. By default, broadcast traffic is not allowed, right? So it is not allowed to run in your ACI infrastructure. You can't do the broadcast. Clear, sir? This is very high level of ACI overview. How exactly it is in a simple language, so that you might have a bit idea about it, but we'll get in detailed discussion in next upcoming slides or upcoming classes. So ACI works on is different architecture which is called spine and leaf architecture or spine and leaf switches. There are two layers of the switch. Our first layer is on top layer and second layer is there. Cisco ACI support two-tier architecture. The first layer is called spine layer and the next layer is called leaf layer. They all are connected to inter-kind of devices. Inter-kind means spine can connect to leaf and leaf can connect to spine. You can't connect both kind of devices together. This is not possible and not recommended. Just like in three-tier architecture, we do the core switch and core switch are going to get connect together, right? Or maybe distribution switches are connecting together and creating a port channel and allowing a VLAN in mid of that. So in three-tier architecture, we are performing like this. So that connectivity, that technology is not allowed here in two-tier architecture. So before to move ahead, let's go to the whiteboard and try to understand what is this three-tier architecture and two-tier architecture. Let's create a topology first. My drawing is not good, so I'm trying to do it. Right, so this is a core switch, this is a core, this is a distribution switch, this is distribution, and this is access layer. Access layer. So this access layer is connecting to your distribution switch in the same way. Core layer and distribution layer are connecting together, and distribution layer is connecting together as well as core layer as well. And we have to create a port channel to get a more bandwidth and fault tolerance. And our server is connecting in the bottom side. This is a server which normally connect to your access layer, or maybe they created some server kind of switches or that one, but they all are access layer, right? So this server is connecting here. Now they said this ACI infrastructure cannot be built up on this three-tier architecture. Why it is? Because they have some of the limitation or some of the drawback here, which they had removed it in two-tier architecture, which called spine and leaf architecture, and said that we as a ACI infrastructure is recommended and mandate that you can go ahead for this two-tier architecture only. So first layer, as we discussed, is a spine layer. And the next layer is called leaf layer. And all the devices, all the servers, all the network equipments, all the security equipments are mandated and are recommended to connect to your leaf layer only. Right? So this is a spine and leaves layer. So first understand what is this difference, why this spine and leaf comes into the picture, why we are not going to use this three-tier architecture. Let's give this name as server 2 here. So the core layer is performing what? It's a complete routing information. So it's having the complete routing lookup, which route is available internally, which route is available externally. So these devices are having a complete view. These core devices are having complete view of your routing technologies. They are not doing anything apart from those. This is a centralized boundary which know that layer 2 and layer 3 domain are going to get segregate here. Right? So it's performing a inter layer 2 and layer 3 communication. And this access layer, we are going to connect your AND devices that we all know. But what is the difference? Very first difference is, let me make it undo first. So let's understand the difference, what exactly it is in aspect of server, because we are going to learn the application centric infrastructure. So from this server point of view, this server is connecting to your access switch 1 and access switch 2. And these interfaces, they are connecting with two different interfaces, and one interface will active and one interface will be standby, right? So they are getting a one interface bandwidth only. That is not possible here. They make all these interfaces in active and active. We have the option, right? This is very first difference, that we have the more bandwidth available here. We have the limit that we can, if we can install one more access switch here, then we can connect to our server to this access switch, but this interface is again go in the standby state. It is not in the active way. So once the interface will go down, then the remaining interface will get it up. It's not possible, right? But here it is not like it. We can connect multiple interface with multiple devices. Second important, that the VLAN ID. We created a VLAN on the distribution layer and says our layer 2 and layer 3 domain are configured on to this particular layer. And while making a redundancy for these VLAN, we run one of the protocol which called first hop redundancy protocol on top of it, like HSRP, VRRP, GLBP kind of protocol. These protocol make this VLAN available in both the switches, distribution 1 and distribution 2, right? So in case this switch will be active switch and this switch will be the standby switch, and the request wrongly goes to this particular switch, then this switch will redirect this request to active switch, and then active will get it forward. So that concept, this FHRP technology has been removed here. So we are not going to use any FHRP routing protocol over here in leaf and spine. Why it is? Because they give us a flexibility and says that you don't need to run only 2 distribution switches. You can run n number of switch over here, and the gateway will be available to all the n number of switches. That we will discuss how it is possible and what all it is. But as of now, this n number of switches is available to get connected over here, and all these n number of switches will have the gateway configured. So if the server is connecting to n number of devices, then the gateway is available over here. Third one it is. Next difference is that from the access and distribution layer, one interface will be the active, one interface will be the standby, in case they are the layer 2, which is ideally a layer 2, right? Access and distribution is a layer 2 interface, and core and distribution is a layer 3 connectivity. So now come back to the core technology as well, core switches. So core switch is having the layer 3 device, and here also we have the FHRP routing protocol running. What happens when this device or this technology, this router is going off? How we are going to do it? Then of course we have to put some routing over here, maybe default to this guy or default to this guy. Then only it is going to work. Here in this technology it says all the devices are required to connect to your leaf devices. So you don't need to go anywhere else, right? This device can be your physical device, or this can be your virtual as well. Same thing, if you plan to implement some of the firewall in mid of that, so you can use it, and this can also be possible as a physical and virtual itself. Next is that if you have the option, let me undo first. We have the lack of space, so let me make it undo. Okay, so now,
So,
yeah, please.
so is there any benefit to have active ports in leaf and spine architecture when
Oh,
the server is connected to leaf node?
yes, sir. It's having the more bandwidth. Very first option is that you have the, for example, 1 Gbps interface or the 10 Gbps interface here. So you 10
Mhm.
GB and 10 GB. So at the time of getting a bandwidth, only 10 Gbps only. But here you have the option that you can use the 20 Gbps bandwidth without performing any of the special configuration here. For example, you can see, you said that we have the 2 switches, but we can make a bundle together and configure one of the advanced data center technology, which is called VPC, right? So
Okay.
these VPC can help us to make these different switches and get the 20 Gbps of bandwidth. But what about if we have the more
Alright.
switches over here? Access layer. VPC will not be work
Okay.
more than 2 switches, 2 upstream switches,
Okay.
right? But here as well, if we want more bandwidth, then we can install one more leaf switches over here and then get connect to your servers. And again, you will get
Okay.
some
So
more bandwidth.
So there is a specific condition we cannot apply or configure VPC if we have more than two switches than upstream.
Yes, that is a VPC
Yes.
configuration limitation. No? If you guys are aware about VPC, then VPC says that one downstream device can connect and can create a port channel with two upstream devices. And normal port channel, simple port channel is work on one-to-one basis. VPC will bring a concept to 1 to 2 port channel. The one downstream device and two upstream device can create a port channel together. Right? That is a very high level of difference between these two.
Yep.
So this is one of the add-on benefit is that we can get like this one active interface. Third one is that we can install multiple access switches, but we cannot connect our server to them directly, right? But here as well we can install multiple leaf switches and we can connect our switches, and those switches will get more bandwidth. This server will get more bandwidth, 10, 10 and 10, right? Same way, if you want to increase some more bandwidth, then you can install one more server and then say that this is our more server and 10 Gbps more bandwidth. So as soon as you required more bandwidth, you install one more leaf and then connect your server over there. Or you can use some more interfaces as well.
Sharif sir, one question here. If you have time, you can explain it here or maybe in next class.
Yeah, tell me.
Like in traditional architecture, it is because of the STP running in the background, due to which only one link is forwarding at a time, the other is in blocking. And with the help of VPC, we can mitigate that thing with because those two switches will look like or imitate like a single switch to the downstream device, so that both can be forwarding at the same time. But in this ACI technology, of course STP will be running here as well. How it is making it possible here to forward on all the links which I will connect from my server to any number of leaf switches, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, any number.
Right. So here, of course, as you said, the STP is running, right? So STP is running over here as well, and STP is running on a 3-tier architecture as well, so which is on top of it.
Yeah.
So we do not have anything running on this STP protocol in 3-tier architecture, but here on 2-tier architecture, span and leaf, they are going to disable it, which is not possible. So they run some of the routing protocol on top of it and says that STP will work when this routing protocol will get it off, right? So very
Yeah,
first,
it works on layer 2 topology.
layer 2 is STP is layer 2 topology technology, but on top of STP they have run this one of the routing protocol on top of it and says whenever any of the link connect, then they will first hit this routing protocol first, and once this routing protocol will get it off, disabled or not running condition, then STP will come into the picture and then make the port active or standby, forwarding or
So sir,
disable.
that means STP is there in this spine and leaf topology as well, but the adjacency between my server and my upstream, that is the leaf switches, is with the help of this L3, the routing protocol. And if that is not, and at that time STP doesn't work, or it is in a standby state or in a sleeping state, and when that L3, that routing protocol will be down or there's some problem with that, then that STP will come in picture.
Absolutely, sir. The same thing I said, STP is running, but on top of STP we have some of the routing protocol running, which we will discuss in next class, that what is the routing protocol and how it is working. But as of now, we have some of the routing protocol running on top of it, which is kind of disable this STP. So when any of the server or any of the device is connecting to your network infrastructure, then this routing protocol will take care all of those and make the interface to be the active one, so that will get a more bandwidth, and without performing any of the special configuration or any of the STP kind of mechanism to be stopped or running,
Or no bundling required.
right? That's the reason. This is a special technology, VPC port channel, so that we don't require it, right? So
Yeah.
individually we can connect to this one, and then we'll get a more bandwidth. Second important parameter is that we have the distribution and access layer connectivity. So this is somewhere they call configured layer 2 and somewhere it is layer 3, but it is layer 3 mechanism generally. And mid of that we run some of the FHRP routing protocol so that we can send some of the traffic to one of the gateway which is configured from the south to north, right? And then we'll get a redundancy. But do you think that we are going to use all the interfaces at the same time here as well,
No.
right? So one best path we can get it from any of the routing protocol. So only for those one best path can use to send the traffic, either this one or this one in respect of distribution switch 1, right? So here as well in 3-tier architecture we only get one active path in layer 3 perspective. But if we are talking about the 2-tier architecture connecting to the spine and leaf topology, when the traffic is coming to leaf 1, for example this is leaf 1, leaf 2, leaf 3 and leaf 4. So when the traffic is coming to leaf 1 and want to go to leaf 2, as we discussed, we do not have any connectivity in mid of that. We don't need it, or we don't require it, or not recommended as well, right? So the traffic can go to all the interfaces, whatever the interfaces they have toward the upstream devices, the traffic will go to both the interfaces, because these topology will support one of the technology which called equal cost multipath, ECMP, which has been prepared and available for you for this upstream routing protocol, which is called backend routing protocol. So this routing protocol is running on top of STP and create an environment so that we can get the maximum equal cost multipath available, right? So we can use multiple uplink traffic. So we can send the traffic to spine 1 and we can send the traffic to spine 2, and both of them can forward the request to destination devices and the server can respond. That's the reason server is getting higher bandwidth here and here as well, because they are sending the traffic with the multiple link and they are receiving the traffic with the multiple link as well. So it's higher bandwidth, right? Second and most important point is that core devices, we have the limitation that we can use the only 2 core devices and the 2 distribution devices. But in 3-tier architecture we do not have any limit that we can install only 2 spine or 2 leaf. We can install multiple spine devices here, right? This one like this. So as soon as we install multiple spine devices and connect to the leaf, we are getting a more bandwidth, more throughput, right? And each of the spines and leaf, we have the limit that we cannot use less than 40 Gbps of interface between the leaf and spine. And this is what? This is just because we have the downstream interface at least a 10 gigabit of interface. So this uplink interface must be bit higher so that they can handle multiple 10 gig interfaces simultaneously, right? So we have the flexibility that we can expand multiple spine devices at any moment of time, as well as we can expand
Stretch.
multiple leaf devices or we can say we can span multiple gateway devices, because our gateway will reside on the leaf devices here. And one of the main benefit is that from this server point of view, see, this server is having one IP and one gateway configured, and whenever this server need to contact with his gateway, this gateway need to cross one layer and then reach to the distribution device where we have the gateway associated. But here in this two-tier architecture, all the gateways are residing on your leaf layer only. Any kind of gateway or any VLAN interface or any gateway that can be configured or that will be configured to your leaf device only. Fine, sir. Any questions between two-tier architecture and three-tier architecture?
There is one question from my side. So why we are not connecting leaf and spine together as we are doing into traditional architecture?
Leaf and spine together, is it? Leaf and spine we are connecting. We
Two leaf together and two spine together.
okay.
Why?
You said the same kind of device cannot be connected together. That's what we discussed, right? So spine to spine and
Exactly.
leaf and leaf we cannot connect it together. This is just because that we have the some of the control plane protocol running in mid of that. There are some of the control plane. Out of those, we have one of the control plane is called VXLAN. VXLAN is running on these devices together and create a tunnel between these leaf to leaf and all the leaf devices kind of. So whenever we want to send any of the traffic to server 1, server 2 to server 3, then this control plane protocol will come into the picture and send the traffic logically from one server to another server via this VXLAN tunnel. So whenever we are talking about in ACI that all the packets, all the inter-VLAN communication or within server to server communication, all the packets are 2 hop away, right? So if server 2 want to talk to server 3, then server 2 send a request to leaf 1 and leaf 1 directly send the packet to leaf 2 via this VXLAN tunnel. That's what it is not recommended that you create a interconnect physical link between the same kind of devices, right? If you connect those links, then this control plane will not get understand that how we are going to send the packet to leaf 1 to leaf 2, leaf 2 to leaf 3. Same control plane mechanism is running on the spine device as well, right? So spine is also having the visibility that what all things are connecting. So that's a design flow that they can say that if we want to run a control plane as an VXLAN or some other protocol as well, that we have to stop connecting the similar kind of devices, right? So we'll discuss the control plane section in the control plane class. But as of now, answer to your question is that we have some of the control plane protocol running in mid of that, so they are not allowing you to connect your two devices together to same kind of device. If you forcefully try to connect it, then we have one of the protocol running which is called MIS cabling protocol, MCP. So this MCP protocol by default it's on, it's enabled. If you connect the spine 1 and spine 2, then this MCP will get it on and get this port disabled. Right? So that is the main reason for not connecting two kind of switches together.
Thank you.
Sir, I think we would be discussing either by today or in the next session, like something which you have explained. This is an underlay topology, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
we would like to know like a difference between overlay and underlay topology.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How Cisco ACI works on overlay and underlay.
Correct. We'll discuss all of those, but this is a very high level of discussion which we did, and we are just aware what is the difference between three-tier architecture as well as the two-tier architecture. So that is the main objective for understanding all of those, right? So in next class we'll understand what is the three-tier architecture, what all the spine leaf architecture we have, what is this protocol we can run, and what all kind of switches we are going to execute or we can connect to our spine and leaf, right? So let's understand this flow as well, this slide, and this says that spine and leaf architecture is also known as close topology, right? It works on east and west direction only. As I can say that we have the server connected over here, and this server is connecting to this guy, and this server is connecting to this guy. This is server 2, this is server 1. So this traffic, this communication is done via east to west side of direction, right? So that's the reason it says it's east-west kind of communication, and all the traffic is a 2-hop away traffic, just because of VXLAN is running in mid of that on top of your underlay network. There are two spaces they said in spine and leaf is one area, and the leaf and the downside they have configured a two different area. This is called infra space, and this is called user space. Why it is? Because it's related to infrastructure point of view, which managed by ACI admin, and this is your user space where you have connected your end devices, which is partially managed by network admin, ACI admin, or your server engineer or the application engineer. So all those guys are going to get managed those, and these servers are actually accessed by your end users. By default we have the one VLAN configured within this infra space. This is called VLAN 4. Now this VLAN 4 is going to change in the new version, so it's a new VLAN ID, right? We will discuss in VLAN section what is a new VLAN ID now, but previous version in 3.x it is VLAN 4, but in 4.x this version, this ID has been changed by them. Or even we have the option to change this VLAN ID. If we want to use some another VLAN, then we can use it. So as we have seen that we can add more server, then we need to add leaf devices. If we want more bandwidth, then we need to add more spine switches, right? In case of any link failure, then we can immediately notify with 125 microsecond, and then topology and the packet has been switched over to the another one. We discussed the routing is running in mid of that, and we have the two tables are going to get configured, global and local. So these tables are on the both layer, leaf layer as well as the spine layer, but spine is not having any of the local connected device, so they do not have any of the local table configured, but they have the option that they can use it. Global station table is what that we have the complete information of your ACI infrastructure. Local station table, that what all devices are connecting to this particular local devices. So whenever any of the device connected, they keep it in the local table and then get it update in the global station table and notify to your upstream devices as well. We don't require any HSRP, VRRP, GLBP kind of things, any of the protocol on the topology, because we have the some other mechanism running, and which give us a more flexibility compared to these protocols. And we have this scalability information that we have the 1 million entry can be stored, and packet is always in the forwarding as an hardware base, and we have the configured the ECMP. That all we discussed till now. Right, so this is information about spine and leaf, what is spine and leaf, and what is a 3-tier architecture difference. A very overview of ACI infrastructure, how ACI it is, why it has been organized, what is the use, what is the component we are going to use here, right? What is the replication mechanism, either we can do any of the broadcast or bump traffic we can send or no. So this is a very overview kind of session now, right? So next class we'll discuss about Nexus product family, what all switches we have, what is their characteristics, architecture, and how we are going to get use in access mode and ACI mode.